All right, I'm back. All right, that's better. Much better, much better. All right, let me go ahead and. Ooh, okay. So, sorry we're late today, but better late than never. World War Three. We already in War Three. We're already in it. All wars are ideological wars. Violence is just the last step, you know. So, but hopefully there won't be any violence. Hopefully we can get it together as Americans. You know, all we need is just the right information. That's all we need. Hope everybody's doing good on this Saturday. Hope everybody's doing good. Just waiting for Lydia to join. There we go.
Hello.
All right, so how I look? How I look?
It's more clear.
More clear?
Am I clear? I don't
Nah, you
know.
look good. You look good. Your skin is glowing.
Oh,
You know,
thank you.
good. All right. So how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? How was your week?
Yeah, it was cool. Just the grind of you know the society we live in. And the traffic, but I'm here, so I can't complain.
You just got off?
Nah. I've been doing some house housekeeping, and I had to redo some of these wires, and I was on the computer, had to send some emails and stuff like that. So you know, but I mean, that's not important. None of that's important. So can you hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So so what's up with your girl Angela Stanton King?
Oh my gosh. I guess she's standing on business.
That was like a real cringe. Like I mean, I was like, my goodness, and then for Robert Kennedy to just go along with it.
And you could tell he didn't want to do
Yeah,
it.
like white people, like white men, they got to start having balls. Like, stand up to these people. don't 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 get scared just because you scared somebody's gonna call you a racist. Like, come on, man. Like, you
Do
got
you
to.
think like she was dead serious with this, or do you think she was trolling, or like a little bit of both?
All right, see, it's a twofold answer. Like, these people are not serious people. That's one. So when they do something serious, in their heart of hearts, they're serious, but they're just not serious people. Like, I don't. A lot of these people, they're not real people to me. So I don't know. And then the song was like stupid. All right,
I know I keep saying this, but I can't wait till I see like the full, because Boozy was there too.
uh,
So do you think like RFK was rapping on that? Like, how she had him up to the booth. Okay, you're gonna do this after me or whatever.
RFK can barely speak. How's he gonna rap? Like, what is he gonna say? I'm RFK.
That's another. Why
You know?
would she do that?
You said what?
Why would she do that?
Because she's not a serious person. No,
Duncan said that was the cookout.
not serious people. That's the thing. But
I must have watched it like 20 times today, literally, or probably more than that. And each time I kept cracking up. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I can't wait when they release the whole track or
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't. I mean, it's election season, and I mean, I think this is the problem I have with this whole election season thing. Like, we wait till the last minute to actually start getting these issues out. The issues that are important to me have been important to me for the last 10 years, and the main issue for me is always economy. It's, because if we don't have control over our individual economy, then we're not free people.
No, I don't know why I'm laughing. I can't stop laughing at that.
Talking about
No, I'm listening to you, but I'm just.
standing on business. Yeah, but so that
I don't know why this is like extremely funny to me. Like I don't know what. And people can't even accuse him of pandering.
why why you
Because
can't?
I feel like I know it's wrong for me to say that she forced him to do it, but I really feel like she forced him to do that.
Yeah, she forced him to do it.
I don't think it was an ideal, like him being there. Okay, you could say okay, whatever, but him, I don't know, rapping along or whatever she told him to go along with. I don't think he wanted to do that.
RFK cannot speak. How is he gonna rap? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, like his voice sounds like a broken auto tune.
We'll see how it goes, but yeah, Boozy was there. So, did you see the very ending part, like when she was
Yeah,
like dancing?
she was getting. I was like, she was getting. She was doing.
They said Juvenile was gonna pull up. Oh my God, vax that thing up.
Yeah, he was about to vax that. Hold on, RFK is anti-vax, so he ain't gonna let Juvenile in the building.
Oh,
I don't know. So, let me ask you this. So, with the election coming up and you being a woman and getting to vote, so what are the most important issues for you?
America. Period.
I mean, that's kind
Well,
of
yeah, definitely the economy. Um, are you saying like policy wise, or just it could be anything?
what is your idea? What's your ideal economic philosophy, or like what are we doing now to to stifle the ideal economic condition?
Oh
You
my
know,
God, we're horrible. We're like what, trillions in debt. Um,
that's more so fiscal policy.
yeah, but doesn't that affect everything?
Well, yeah, it does. I mean,
That's like I don't
the
know.
thing is the way our monetary system is set up. It affects things. It it has like a delayed effect. So that's why you have the inflation and whatnot, because our labor, our currency is not backed by anything except our labor and our production. So if our money was backed by gold, if our currency was backed by gold or silver, or like a fungible asset, then you couldn't just inflate the money supply, because then it wouldn't work the same way. But since our currency is backed by our labor and production, then you just backload everything. So you just print more money, but that means we have to work harder, for our production to catch up with the money supply. So basically, they're robbing us. So what we get paid for 8 hours, we're only getting paid for 4 hours now,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
when
the
when there's
taxes.
more money out there,
Hmm.
um, the cost of everything goes up. So yeah, so that is one thing. But to fix that, we would have to shut down the Federal Reserve. And every president that's tried to do that has gotten shot, or they tried to kill him. I don't know if you know about Andrew Jackson, but he's probably one of the coldest presidents that this nation ever had. Like, he actually wanted to preserve the sovereignty of the United States rather than giving it to the bankers. And that's what he ran on. He was like, I'm going to kill the banks. And he almost succeeded. But then, when his presidency was over, they signed they re-upped the bank charter, and so and that's the messed up part because like it's the biggest troll that he's on the $20 bill because he would have never wanted to be on the $20. He would never wanted to be on a bank note because that's what our money is. It's just bank notes.
So
So
he would have never. You're saying he would have never wanted to be on any bill for that matter.
no, no,
Wow,
no.
I didn't know
Yeah,
about this.
he is the president that went to war with the bankers. He said they're a den of vipers, and he said I'm going to kill y'all before y'all kill me. And that's what he ran on, and he was, and that the thing is like history teaches us that he owned slaves and he was evil, and I mean he might have been, I don't know, but as far as like president preserving the sovereignty of our nation, I don't think there was anybody better than him. Just from from what I've read so far, I mean they might have been somebody better. I don't
Wow,
know.
I need to go read up more on him after you told me this. What do you think stopped him, prevented him from being murdered, like kind of like JFK or Abraham Lincoln style or what have you?
What stopped Jackson from being
Mm-hmm.
murdered? Well, they tried to kill him, but the guns jammed. They tried to shoot him, but the gun jammed.
Oh
So,
wow.
I think that when you have the truth on your side and when you operate in integrity, that God protects you. That's all I can make of it. Because a lot of these people that die, they make deals. You still there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I hear
Yeah, a lot of these people.
you perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of these people that get killed, they make deals. And when you make a deal with the devil and he comes to cash in, if you don't pay with interest, you gonna pay with your life. So, JFK, that whole family, they got their fortune off of bootlegging, and stood on business. Their fathers, the you know he had some dealings with the mob, so he had to stand on business.
Yeah, they say that there. You know how there's so many conspiracies to his death. They even say that somebody like one of the mobsters from like Louisiana might have done that to him, like offed him. But then they say the driver offed him.
Louisiana.
Yeah, because there was a Sicilian mob there in New Orleans. So
Hmm.
so
Well,
that's who you're pretty much talking about, the New Orleans sector of the mob. That well, not to go off topic, but the Sicilians used to get lynched in New Orleans by the white man.
yeah. The Italians,
So
they used to be known as white niggers
yeah, or
or
like
something like that.
olive
Yeah,
colored, because they wasn't pale per se. They have a
yeah,
little color.
yeah.
So
Yeah. They say like they say Rome ends where Africa begins or something like that. That's what that's
it's
what.
North southern Mediterranean, North Africa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
We
you.
share so like Egypt and Libya and all those countries up North Africa, they share the Mediterranean sea with Greece and Italy. So
Wasn't weren't the Italians in Ethiopia?
yeah.
Yeah, you probably go to Rome and you clean up like they would you have men like throwing themselves at your feet and stuff. You
Really?
you yeah, they love black women in Rome, in Italy. They love black women. So you know you can be a passport sis. Nah, but JFK, he has signed on Executive Order 11 11 and what it did was it took the power. Basically, I think it reinstated the silver standard. Let me look it up right quick because I think that's why he died. Uh, let's see. Executive Order. Okay. Okay. Issued by JFK, delegating the Secretary of Treasury the President's authority to issue silver certificates under the Thomas Amendment of the Agricultural Adjustment Act, amended by the Gold Reserve Act. It said the order allowed the secretary to issue silver certificates if any were needed during the transportation or the transition period under President Kennedy's plan to eliminate silver certificates and use Federal Reserve notes. Okay, the order allowed, and if any were needed during the trend. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's why he died. I think that's why they killed him, because he was.
Explain that.
All right, let me read it. The executive order amended Executive Order 10289 by delegating to the Secretary of Treasury the President's authority to issue silver certificates. Okay, I'm going to read it again. It delegated to the Secretary of Treasury the President's authority to issue silver certificates under the Thomas Amendment as amended by the Gold Reserve Act. It said the order allowed the Secretary to issue silver certificates during the transition period under President Kennedy's plan to eliminate silver certificates and use Federal Reserve notes. So I don't know what all that entails, and it said Jim Mars in the book Crossfire presented that the theory that Kennedy was trying to rein in the power of the Federal Reserve and the forces opposed to such action might have played at least some part in his assassination. So they said that the issuance of the executive order was an effort by Kennedy to transfer power from the Federal Reserve to the United States Department of Treasury by replacing Federal Reserve notes with silver certificates. And see, that's the thing. Like, you know, the Constitution says that Congress has the power to print money, not the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is unconstitutional, just like the 16th Amendment. The 16th Amendment is I think that's the income tax that set up the IRS. And, you know, because I think
getting robbed.
Yeah, we're getting robbed.
That's established, but
I think the Fourth Amendment, it says that. Let me read it right quick. It said the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. So your labor, your money, you know, that's yours. You know, that's everything that comes from your person. So if you don't have a right to your 100% of your income, then, you know, you don't fully own it. So, you know, that the whole income tax thing is unconstitutional. So,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like with Trump, when they was trying to make it seem like, oh, he didn't pay his taxes and stuff, it's an attack on a fiscal conservative. Like fiscal conservative, all of us are fiscal conservatives, by the way. Like everybody, like even the extreme far leftist weirdo with blue and green hair is everybody's a fiscal conservative because you want as much of your money as possible is yours. So
yeah,
it's like when they were attacking Trump, saying, oh, he didn't pay his taxes and stuff like that. I knew they were full of shit. First of all, his taxes shouldn't have even been exploited like that. And it was just an attack on your average American, like programming Americans to be like, oh, well, we're taking your taxes whether you like it or not. But they used Trump, you know, as an example, even though they lied on him. It was like I said, it's an attack on the fiscal conservative or just anybody that wants to save their money, you know?
It's an attack on freedom. Because if you can't keep the fruits of your labor, then you're not free.
You're not free. And then it's like we're in America at that. But all this stuff you're talking about is the USA, right? The corporation, the federales.
Like when we get into all that,
it's two different entities from what I've discovered recently over the years.
But my issue with that whole notion is that I can't find it anywhere on the books. And I looked up the definition of person. It just said a human being. I looked up Black's law definition because all these definitions, they matter. Because when you come before a judge in the court of law, the only thing you have as your advocate is the law. All an attorney does is they say, Your Honor, my client, according to this statute or this law, did not break any kind of rules or anything like that. So, when you have the law on your side, then then you can function. But as far as all that maritime and all that corporation, I never found anything that's really like substantial on it. And every time I ask people to
Define.
cite it, to give me a source, they always say, "Oh, read the Constitution." I'm like, "Well, I am reading the Constitution," and I'm like, I don't see anything. So I think all those conspiracies, stuff like that, it kind of just what it does. It kind of like it makes you a little bit like hopeless. You're like, well, it's all a different entity anyway, so why even bother? So then you got these sovereign citizens getting arrested, and they're like, well, yeah, I don't need a driver's license because Constitution said I have to. And then you tell that to an officer with a gun, and it's like good luck.
You talking about the Moors?
All of them, the force, that do that. So I mean, if it's true, I mean, great. Just show me it in black and white, so I can go reclaim my person. So I can reclaim my straw man. But nobody's ever been able to really just show it. So I don't know. I can't. I had to kind of just leave that alone and learn really what the laws, the laws say that are on the books. So yeah. But so you said the economy. So like, is that the only thing that's important
No,
to you?
no.
So I'm saying like, what do you vote on?
You're not gonna believe this. I haven't voted in a while.
Well, I mean,
This I'm a female, so who cares? What? I'm just telling the truth. It's just
okay,
it's been quite a while. Like the last, I don't know.
okay. So all right. So let's pretend you're married. So what do you tell your husband to vote for? What do you urge him to vote on? Like, what issues would you urge him to vote on?
Okay, can you throw some out? Can you throw some like some policies or whatever?
I'm just saying issues in your life. Like, what is something that affects your everyday life that you wish was different?
Okay, I'll start with education. So more school choice, like charter schools, instead of having everything district based. Let parents have the choice. Like, okay, even though you live here in such and such neighborhood, you can go to this charter school which has good structure or whatever, as opposed to having all children in public schools. But then, of course, obviously, if parents want to opt out to homeschooling, of course, absolutely do that. Um, I don't know why my mind is just. I don't know what else. I guess, like I
Well,
said, I'm a female.
the reason why I'm asking you this because that's where it all starts. What is important to each one of us? Because the media tells us what's important to us, and I just don't agree that we should go with that. I don't think abortion is important to me. That's just not. I'm sorry, but it's not.
Why did I just forget? That's what I'm saying. I don't know why my mind. Okay, so in abortion, as you know, kind of piggybacking off of last week when we were talking about this, that's like the main. Like, even if a man is pro life or whatever, Republican or whatever, they're like so weak right now because of the abortion. So, like, you agree that the abortion topic is at the forefront?
Yeah, and that's what
It
people.
is, and it's like, people, and a lot of these like Republicans particularly, they're folding in.
Well, I think that it's an issue because they're trying to mask more important issues, kind of like the
Hmm.
taxes, the tax codes,
Yes,
and whatnot. So
I definitely believe less taxes. I am a fiscal conservative, just like everybody else.
yeah,
So less taxes. Um, I'm pro life. What else?
but you're pro life, right? So
Oh yeah, you broke it down to me last
well,
week.
no,
Um,
no. My question is, since you're pro life, how does somebody else get an abortion? How does that affect you?
Uh, uh less less reproducing in the world. Or well, I can't say it. Here in America, less reproducing and contributing to us going extinct. The Bill Gates plan.
Well, well, my follow up question is, well, what are you doing to reproduce?
I have one child. I don't have a man, so
Well, I'm just saying, cause like,
I'm not being fruitful.
well, I mean, I mean, I don't know. Me, neither am I. So, I mean, I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody. But I'm just saying, like, when we set policy as a whole, when we vote for policy that we're setting, you know, are things that these are things that I think about. You know, what affects me and what affects my community. And like I said last time, the issue I have with abortion is how it's funded. You know, if we're
That
going
goes
to
into
fund abortion,
taxes
yeah,
too.
if we're going to fund abortion by subsidizing Planned Parenthood, we might as well fund BBLs. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, it's the
I
same.
wouldn't be surprised if it got there with this equity and all this inclusion stuff.
Yeah, that's what they're doing with the whole gender reassignments.
Exactly.
Have that subsidized. You know, so
So definitely
that
get rid of that. Um, and also for the workplace, I mean, everybody has to survive, get a job or business or whatever it is that you're doing. I actually want to get rid of that equity and inclusion bullshit.
okay,
I
okay,
want to get rid of that
okay.
because what I'm noticing, and I can say this firsthand from my own experience, um, that, oh, we don't discriminate against your religion, gender, race, or whatever particular thing you subscribe to. It's basically they're discriminating against conservatives, or they want to have less white men, less Christians, not only white Christians, but it could be a black Christian, white Christian, whatever. Um, and I've dealt with this personally. I've dealt with this, like, it's weird where I'm at, and I've, like, the jobs that I've held, I don't get treated like a black American. And when I say that in the aspect of, if I try to steal hours off the clock, if I'm late, or if I'm getting an attitude with somebody for getting an attitude, like, I get treated, I get held accountable like
You,
the whites, Hispanics, and the Asians.
you get
I
treated.
don't get,
They treat you
huh?
like a white. They treat you like a white man.
Yes, I get treated like a white man. Exactly. Exactly. How did you know? I get treated like a white man. That's how I get every job I've had. Like, I always have to be responsible. Like, I can't mess up. I can't make a mistake. Um, it's like I don't get treated like Black Americans, and I think it really goes back to kind of like, I think I said it last week or the week before. When you observe somebody in 2 seconds, they don't have to necessarily tell you their beliefs or religion or whatever. You just kind of see where people are. So I've always been in the category of, like, oh, she's different, she thinks different, she's outspoken, she's a conspiracy theorist, and so on and so forth. So it's not that I just go to my job and just talk about, like, who I am and what I do or whatever, but I know that these people see who I am. They see, I don't know. I think I wear my conservatism on my sleeve to a degree. So, um, being that I've experienced this, just falling out, arguing, and just always being out of place, being left out and stuff like that, I just don't like it.
So
Like, I can't, like, this last job that I had, like, they hired this gay sales manager. They said, oh, we're diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when they had a Thanksgiving party, they had the flyer written in Spanish. I could understand one in Spanish, one in English, but they just had one written in Spanish. Um, and I understood what it was because I could understand it. So, and then I had pointed it out to the other employees. So there was like a Dutch employee, a Sicilian employee, me. We're all different ethnically, but we're like, we're still Americans nonetheless, right?
yeah.
They were like, what the hell is this? Um, and it was like we switched management companies, and I seen they were like, they came in like, oh, we love everybody, we're diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all that fucking bullshit. And the gay black dude that they hired, like he would always get an attitude with me. He made me feel like he was a black woman, the way he would get attitudes with me. My supervisor, me and him were originally had a decent work relationship, but he changed when the new management came in, and I told my coworker, because she was like, "Oh, he changed." I'm like, "I don't think he changed. I think he's just showing his true colors." And he happens to be this big black guy, and me and him fell out. Like we kind of like argued at one point, because I was like kind of checking him and holding him accountable because he's my supervisor or whatever. Um, but I don't think he changed. I just think like because now the new management company had a little bit more. He had to actually work now,
Yeah.
and he's used to being slack, used to being lazy, um, but he, one of those vaccinated people. He thinks he's tough because he's from New York, whatever. But he really showed his true colors. He really like just he folded, cooperated, whatever. It's just like I don't know. Like I said, I can't survive in Connecticut because no matter what job I get, even though I work hard, I bust my ass. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm just a conservative, so that's what I'm going into this diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like I'm as good as a white man at these jobs,
So
or I'm as good as a Hindu, or I'm as good as a Muslim, or I'm as good as uh, not the Latin, because if it's like 10 Latinos, it's 10 of them and it's one of me, right? But I have to always get held responsible. I don't get treated like a Black American woman. I can't steal hours off the clock. I can't get an attitude and stuff like that.
so basically, you're saying you don't have nigga privilege.
No, I don't. So when they talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I feel like they trying to attack me. They're taking money out. They're taking food out my mouth because I'm the white man.
Well, um, I don't I don't know how government policy can change that, because if we start using the arm of the government to change that, then
It's the same difference.
yeah, we start getting into like fascism.
It's the same. It'll still.
We
Um,
what we have to do is we have to find out which policies enable them to operate in that manner, and what is the financial incentive for them to operate in that manner, and then we can fight it on a policy level. Because there everything is about policy, but operating within the confines of the law. So that's where the fight is. So I think that's where we should start. We got to understand how our society works, and I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. Because I keep seeing people saying, "Well, we need to bring Trump back. We need to bring Trump back," and I'm like, well, my question is, well, what is your grievance with Biden? Like, what is your issue with Biden? So if you cannot articulate that to where I understand on a policy level, then it's like, okay, well, you're just as bad as the other side. You know what I'm saying? So we
I
all need.
think you're about to say you're just as bad as a female voter. I thought that's what you were gonna
Yeah,
say.
I'm not I'm not a red pill guy, so I don't I don't hate women. So, but I'm
You
just
know what's so weird about the Trump 2024 thing for
that.
me? Um, we've never seen this before. Not to say that elections have never been rigged in the past or anything, but we've never like he's supposed to be like technically okay. Like he was inaugurated in January of 2017, and then he was supposed to be inaugurated, 20 January 2021. So this is supposed to be he's supposed to be in the office, right, in the White House right now, and then now it's like okay, the election got stolen from him, and then he's heavily like, oh, I'm running for 2024, and it's just I don't we've never seen that before. You get what I'm saying? Like my thing is like if we don't fix the 2020 election, how is 2024 going to be legit?
That's a great
That's
question.
what I'm saying.
That's a great question, but I think you fight it on a local level, because the people that count the votes and the election laws on the local level with the ballot harvesting and all that, I think that's where you fight it. And I don't I just think the people kind of outsource that responsibility to someone else, whoever that someone else is. But if we don't know our rights, we can only exercise the rights that we know that we have. So
Yeah, like in each, it has to be the Secretary of State.
yeah,
They got to be legitimate,
yeah, and
and
and each
and
each each district, the voting laws and who's counting it and what do they call the poll watchers and all that. So
it
you know,
has to be consistent and like secured,
yeah,
100%.
yeah, there has to be transparency, so people will have confidence, in this process. So until Americans wake up and really, take the bull by the horns, this stuff is gonna keep happening. I mean, I think Trump won. I think Trump won California, to be honest. But I mean, they're just so slimy. They're just so slimy over there. Like, I mean, they probably had
The
too.
way that they interpret it, they oh, it's California, we're blue, so they could just act like that. Like they could act like he didn't win it.
Yeah, yeah. They have that. They have the whole, their whole history of being a super Democrat on their side. But what's his name? Newsom. He's corrupt to the bone. So he, he had his goons up in there. But
I really think for 2024, like they're gonna like copy off like the Venezuela, the 1960s Venezuela election, where they just like they have all these candidates, but they make you where you're only allowed to pick two, and it's pretty much the two that they tell you to pick. I can see them doing something like that this year, like with like oh like because I've said it somewhere. I was doing a live with somebody and I told them I'm like I see them doing something like it could be like the Speaker of the House or somebody coming forward and they're going to do something where they're like, oh, Trump is a bad guy. He's like Hitler or whatever. Um, and I don't know. We're not going to have DeSantis, whatever. And I just see them like, hey, we're going to give you a pick. Either pick Newsom or Biden. And when I say Biden, being that this is like invisibly Obama's third term, whoever is affiliated with them, whether it's Michelle Obama, uh, I see them doing something like that, like putting Biden, like it's going to be, they're going to just make it all blue, like two Democrat candidates, like Newsom versus Biden or Michelle Obama, along those lines. So,
you know, I don't even think that's the real Joe Biden.
you know,
I don't like look at his old pictures and look at him now. Like that, those are not the same people. His cadence is different. His ears are different. It's not the same person. I just, the old Joe Biden was actually kind of like coherent.
yeah,
And I mean, there's no way this guy campaigned or didn't campaign and he won more votes than Barack Obama. Like that's to me
no, there's no
that's
way.
the smoking gun right there. Like, I think Trump was the most beloved president in my lifetime. Yeah, as much as the media told us to hate him, I think that people really loved him.
Yeah,
And when he lost, the morale of the country was just low. The only people that were happy were like black women. And
there was a number of black guys. See,
yeah,
you gotta understand. I'm in
yeah,
Connecticut,
yeah,
so you gotta understand.
yeah. It probably
You gotta understand. Like
yeah,
I'm in a blue territory,
yeah.
so
It's probably easy for you to be celibate up there.
you know what? It's funny you say that. It actually is. It actually is because you know what it is. Like I'm not compatible with anybody up here,
Yeah.
and a lot of people got the vaccine and I didn't. So that just the vaccine by itself, like the what's it called? I'm treating it like an STD. Let's put it like or HIV or AIDS or something like I'm not trying to. I'm just being honest. Like the vaccine rolled out on December 14, 2020. That was the like you know, and I have not been active since
So,
the 17th.
so
But hmm,
were you always leery of the vaccine?
the the COVID,
No, the vaccine.
like the COVID vaccine, or just
Yeah,
any.
COVID vaccine.
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna get that.
Why not?
No, I trust my body. Like I can heal.
Yeah, because I don't think COVID was real. I think COVID is imaginary. I don't, it's. I mean, like,
I think COVID, I think it's like I know people talk about the towers and stuff like that. I think like a lot of those positive results were fake, and I think that some people had pneumonia, which that was always something that's not something new. It's just I don't
well,
know. I'm never going. I don't think I'm ever going back to the medical field.
we need you in the medical field. People like you that are thinkers. We need people like you to be making decisions. That's why we're losing because we don't have sensible people in high places. And that
When I was there, I was working for Quest Diagnostics, drawing blood, and but I would be in the laboratories, but I would also go inside of doctors' offices. So you get your physical or whatever, or if a woman does her whatever her annual appointment, and then they come see me, I draw their blood or whatever. I remember learning in 2017 the inside out of like these doctors like to do C-sections on women because they get like extra money for it,
yeah
depending on the state at that time. This was like back in 2017, and at that time they was getting like an extra like 12 to 18,000 somewhere, depending on the state. Now I could imagine it's like 20, 40,000. And then when COVID came around, and okay, somebody crashed on a motorcycle, somebody got shot. Oh, okay, their diagnosis is COVID. That if for some reason it rang the bell back to C-sections, and I'm like, and I already knew. It's funny because something popped up in my status, my memories. I wrote back in 2019 before COVID. I wrote that the pharmaceuticals, they're no different than drug dealers on the street. So what I'm getting to is drawing blood. I could draw blood all day. I never had a problem with that. But when I was going to school to go on to try to be a nurse or whatever, I was like, oh, I want to be in a psychiatric ward, or I want to do something to help people, or I want to work in a fertility place, or I want to work in pediatrics or whatever. Um, but I didn't want to be that person to constantly throw prescriptions at people. So that discouraged me. The whole pharmaceutical thing, and this was before COVID. This was before 2020. I was like, oh, let me work for a naturopath or a holistic doctor or something along those lines. Um, but it just never happened. Like, so in other words, I'm into like the natural world, like natural healing and like herbs and stuff like that. I used to be a vegan for 2 years. Now I'm back pescatarian again. Um, just I just like the natural, like natural way of healing yourself.
yeah.
You know.
Um, and I respect that, but I've because I don't know if I told y'all, but like anybody that's been following me, they know that I've applied to medical school like 3 times, and I'm into the body's natural healing mechanisms, but you know like food their food is like chemicals, right? Food is what heals you, and pharmaceuticals are just chemicals extracted from plants and foods and all that. So a skilled doctor, a skilled practitioner knows how to apply those chemicals to, the trick is the trick is the correct diagnosis. If you identify the problem correctly, then it's easy to solve. But it's kind of like you go to the mechanic, right? You say, "Hey, my wheels are making a weird noise," and what they do is they'll give you some headphones, and they're like, "Do you still hear the noise?" And they're like, "No, I don't hear it no more." They're like, "Okay, you're good. Go on about your business." That's how the medical system works now. They will treat the symptoms, and the symptoms are actually they're warnings that something is wrong. So if you cover up the symptom, the problem is still going to
Yeah,
be there.
yeah, they're just with the drugs with pharmaceuticals. They're just putting a band-aid without healing the wound.
Yeah,
And I couldn't. I just I couldn't be a part of. I mean, like drawing blood was still within my integrity. That didn't. I don't know. But then on my last couple of months, like I was working in a Jewish doctor's office, and he had me experiment with him. Like, you know how like okay, there was the COVID, the nasal test, the swab to see if you have COVID, but then there was a blood test called COVID antibody. So
Yeah.
that's to see if you still have like if you have the immunity, if you have the T cells, and that test was out before the vaccine rolled out. So, Mitch, is she cooning today? Another one of Blanche's stalkers in here, just like last week. But anyways, um, the experiment was to, okay, like let's say if a person got COVID in January, then you test them like in February, May, June. Do they still have immunity? Do they still have the T cells? So when
Yeah.
he was doing that, the reason why he was doing that experiment is because he wanted to tell his patients don't take the vaccine.
Okay.
And then he was even trying to do an exemption, but they were trying to. The thing is, he's synced with this corporation like Hartford Healthcare, which is here in Connecticut. It's almost if getting just as big as Yale. So he used to just be a regular family practice doctor. The next thing you know, he synced in with them. Remember in 2021 the cancel culture with Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, Pepe Le Pew, Dr. Seuss, etc., etc. So I'm in this guy's office, and it's literally the time of cancel culture, and he had a picture of Bob Marley and Jim Morrison, and then he had with Jim Morrison he also had a picture of the Doors, right? So I noticed he had that picture up there. Whatever, he must have had it ever since he's been in practice. So these Hartford Healthcare people come into his office, and one day I noticed I'm like, I came up to him. I'm like, where's Jimi Hendrix and I mean not Jim, where's Jim Morrison and Bob Marley? Where's the Doors? Like where? I'm like, and he was like, can you believe it? They told me to take these pictures down. I said, what? And then he's like, what are they gonna do next? Ask me to wear a lab coat when I don't even wear that. And I said, is this cancel culture that they're doing right now? And he was like, yeah, this is corporate cancel culture. I was like, what? Then he didn't like wearing masks. It's like I've seen different doctors' offices sync with different medical, like large medical groups, but I've never seen nobody come into somebody's office the way that they what they was doing to this guy. And they were upset that he wasn't wearing masks, and then he would tell his patients like give them like he's a very good doctor. Instead of him being like your average doctor now, like treating everybody the same, like one size fits all, he's a very individualized doctor. Like if you're his patient and I'm his patient, he treats us differently. Like he whatever your symptoms are, that's you. Whatever my symptoms are, that's me. And I guess his patients was going back around telling all the other workers, and they was like it was like kind of like they was like kind of throwing him under the bus. And I was finding this out through other patients. They was telling me on the sideline like just little things that were going on. So this I remember it was like the last day I was there, because I ended up going on FMLA, just dealing with a lot of depression and just being there at the same time too. Just seeing all these things was kind of messing with me. It's like it's one thing when you see something on the media, like I said at that time, it was cancel culture of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben and everybody, and then what I seen them doing that to him there, and it's just I'm finding out things on the back line of everything. It played with whatever other form of depression I was going through, like altogether. And then I remember it was my last day. There was this lady, she was just going off, and I agreed with everything she was saying. And then there was this white lady that I drew blood on, and she was like, "Oh, my name's Karen," and she was like, "I'm sorry, I apologize about my name." I was like, "No, you don't have to." No, like this was like my last day there. And then there was this one lady, she was telling me that the doctor was trying to give her that exemption form for the antibodies that she had the T cells, and they were going to try to revoke his license if he tried to give that type of it's just they were on him. And I didn't really get a chance to say goodbye to that office when I kind of just silently left. But they loved me there. They loved me there. So I don't know, maybe I was being a punk, maybe I was being a softie, but I just couldn't deal with that stuff. Then when I was on my FMLA and I was finished and I was thinking about coming back, Quest, they sent me this last minute, like, oh, like, it was like, let's say like today's October 29, like, oh, you have to be vaccinated by the first to get back. So it's really sad. There's no closure because that doctor was telling his patients don't get the vaccine. So I'm like, damn, did they force this man and his wife? Because his wife was working there too. And I'm just like, damn, did he get the vaccine himself? Like, it's just, it's very evil. It's very evil. And then, and then a few months later, I was dealing with my father's in the hospital for 5 weeks. And because I didn't get the vaccine, he wasn't allowing me to see him. Then it was like during like his last 2 weeks or whatever when he lost all speech, or it's like I see him one day and then like Christmas, and then his birthday is December 29. They're telling me I can't see him. Then they put him to a nursing home, and like his speech is totally like he went from like speaking 3 languages to can't speak nothing, can't not barely swallowing his food, and they were just doing weird shit, the hospital. So you put those two together as far as where I stand with the medical field, I had to go. I can't be in that.
Yeah.
You know, I lost a lot of money, but I can't, like even now, like I'm getting all these offers like, oh, come work here, and like I can't do it. I can't go back there.
Well, I mean,
There's no I mean, if there's like a wellness, like, something, because I was even about to try to work at this cannabis place, like, because, but I can't go back to something like that's affiliated with the pharmaceuticals. And then even like, when you work at a job and you have your quizzes and you're updating your knowledge, like I'm all for that. But when they started sending like the transgender, like, okay, if you send me something like, okay, this is the centrifuge, or you're drawing blood, or these are blood pathogens, you're updating me on the knowledge, like I'm doing those to keep myself as I should, like keep myself up to par. But when you're fucking sending me the LGBT shit, because I'm telling you, all of that happened at the cancel culture. They told him to take Bob Marley and Jim Morrison and the Doors down, and they're coming up in his office being vultures on him. And then they're sending me like this LGBT, like I can't do that. And they kept sending me emails like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't. I mean, I did the blood pathogens, I did the compliance, I did all those other, because that's related to my job. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not. Why are you telling me to do some LGBT thing? Like, it was an LGBT discrimination thing.
yeah, that those continuing education modules.
Right.
Yeah, that
I don't know. Maybe I'm holding a grudge, but I just can't go back. I can't go back to that. I don't think it's like, this was 2 years ago. I don't think it's changed. I don't think. I'm
well,
pretty sure right now, like hypothetically, if I apply for a job like in the medical field, I'm pretty sure they'd be like, "Oh, do you have your vaccine? Are you updated on your flu shots?" Like, no, like I don't, I
I
can't.
don't
Like,
know.
hmm?
That kind of discouraged me from wanting to go into the field, but I had to. Then I realized I'm like, if people with sense are not in these positions, they're gonna keep antagonizing the public. They're gonna keep destroying people's lives. There's a there's a account. I'm not gonna talk about the Bible a lot, but there's an account in the Bible where Israel is facing a famine, and the king was evil. The king was married to an evil woman, Jezebel. She was like the meanest bitch ever. Like, she was killing God's prophets, and the people were starving. There was no water. So one of the there was a guy. There was a I forgot what his position was, but he was in the royal court, He was in the royal court of Israel. His name was Obadiah. And what he would do is he would sneak food to the prophets. You know, he was hiding prophets in underground, and he would sneak food to them.
Wow.
If he wasn't in that position, those prophets would have died. There's another account where a group of people, there was a guy he wanted to kill, the Israelites. He wanted to kill God's people, and the queen, the queen at the time, she had happened to be an Israelite. So the king didn't know any better. He was just like, man, whatever. He was just a king. He liked to have fun. He'd go out and conquer, and he had his harem and all that. So he wasn't, he was like Israelite. It wasn't nothing to him. So, but he had an evil person in his cabinet. Yeah, there we go. He had an evil person in his cabinet. So, he said that, we need to get rid of all these Jews because, they're a problem. And so the queen was a Jew. So said the queen said that somebody devised this plot against my people, and the king got pissed. He said, "Who the hell would do something like that? Bring the man here." And so he ended up hanging the man that tried to persecute God's people.
Wow.
So when righteous people are not in high places, what happened in 2020 is going to keep happening. So that's why with me, I started seeing the big picture. I'm like, okay, this has to change because we're letting all these evil people make the rules. And to
I'm
go back,
sorry, but I was outnumbered.
I understand that. Look, I'm not chastising you at all. I'm encouraging you. I'm encouraging you to whatever ambition or goal that you once had. It's important, and you had it for a reason. And all that you've been through, if if need be, let that fuel you to carry on, because the only way you can fight these people is from within. That's what they do. They infiltrate, and then they take over. They spread like a cancer. So that's the only way. That's the only way we can fight. We got to fight from within.
I get confused on what the hell I'm doing. To be quite honest with you, I'm not even in a clear mental space up here.
I mean, there's 50
Then I
states.
ended up in hospitality, so
There's
which
50.
also I am a woman of hospitality, so I
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know.
Hey,
I just
sometimes you need to change the scenery. There's like there's so many like opportunities where I'm at, and then you have experience, so I don't know, you just don't get so down on the situation to where you cannot see what's available to you. You know, you're alive, you're healthy, you all your faculties in check. So don't I mean, you got the world. The world is your oyster. Believe it or not. It may seem dire to you right now, but it's always good to have eyes on the outside to look in. And you're in a good situation. Like if you wanted to right now, you can go to PA school. You got the laboratory experience. You got the clinical experience. So you get like you can get a vaccine exemption. So there are ways around these things. But when we get discouraged from actually like climbing, the ladder of achievement, we just when we start saying like the odds are too stacked against us, then we just give up, and we can't. We have children that we have to shepherd, and we have to raise up, in the next generation. We can't let these people win. So
what did what do you want to do with the medical field?
I want to be a pediatrician, or I might want to be an OBGYN. But what's so funny?
Why do you want to be I don't
But I like women.
I I need to grow up. I need to grow up.
It's
Why do you want to?
it's
Why do you? What do
it's
you need? Why do you want to be an OBGYN?
because how we start sets the tone about how we operate, for the rest of our lives. I want to be a pediatrician, but the health of the child is very contingent upon the health of the mother, and even more so the health of the mother before she conceives, because once she gets pregnant, then she's going to detox, and all those toxins are going to go to the placenta, and they're just going to go to the fetus. So, you got all these babies with all these problems. It's because the health of the mother even before she conceived. So
It's funny you say that because my story, like how I was telling you, like I had a story pop up from 5 years ago about it was something about it was talking about the pH balance and everything. Like a man has to worry about his seed being in a woman and how she's carrying the baby and the whole domino effect, kind of going into to what you're talking about. And then I was like, yeah, I put something attached to it, like keep trusting these pharmaceuticals. They're no different than drug dealers. So this is all the same thing. Um, no, but you're right. It all starts in the womb.
yeah,
It's very
it starts.
spiritual
Yeah,
too.
it's the woman. Like what you were saying, the earth. You call your little daughter the earth, or you call yourself Earth.
Hmm.
I mean, I see it the same way. Like sometimes when I refer to my parents, I'm like, you know, seed bearer and my earth. I don't, whether we're from the same seed or the same earth. I'm,
That like I said, because not to go into the 5%ers, but it's just when I was walking down that avenue, I believe that's real. Like the earth, like calling women the earth. I think that's real.
it
Like I don't
is,
have to become a 5%er, which I didn't, but that's real.
it
But
is
we
real.
need to close this window. My
What,
God.
what do you know what sperm means, right?
What do you mean? Sorry, I
You
need to close this window.
know,
What do you mean?
you know,
Huh?
you know what the etymology of the word sperm is, right?
Um,
It
like seed?
means seed. That's exactly what it means. Sperm means seed. So when you have a seed, you have to plant it where? In the soil, in the earth. And then it'll germinate,
Yeah.
and the earth will bring forth fruit. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing with people. Every humans, we're just microcosms of the environment. You know, we're just, if you poison the soil, you're not gonna get viable seeds. You might get seeds, but they're not gonna be optimal. So,
So speaking of that, you know how they say black women die giving birth and they have a high mortality rate.
yeah,
What do you think about
I think
that?
that's a bunch of bullshit.
I think there's I think that's too simple to say.
That's what
Not what you're saying. I'm
that,
saying that
I agree.
there's
Yeah,
multiple it can't just be one. If that's what's happening, it can't just be one thing. I
my
think
my
I think insurance, like the quality of insurance, which goes into healthcare, that plays a part. What you literally just said, like how is your womb, how is your temple, being taken care of? That's like number one. That's the root of everything. Um, and what are the doctors giving these women while they're pregnant? And what might work for one body doesn't work for another. So, and then with these women that they're dying at birth or whatever, there's also conditions like preeclampsia that deals with like blood pressure and stuff. Are you consuming too much salt? Are you eating healthy? Like foods play a very big role. So I don't think it's necessarily a target because I think that like when people hear that, like, oh, there's a high mortality rate with black mothers, it automatically equates to, oh, they're attacking and killing black women. And when people say that, oh, they're attacking and killing black women, is there some truth to that? Um, yeah, but not in the sense that they're particularly trying to kill a black woman, but just overall healthcare with women, period. You could be
yeah,
black, white. You understand? So it's not one answer, it's multiple answers to that. It's all about how you take care of yourself.
yeah. And And you got to ask yourself like that. People don't ask the right questions because if somebody said black women have a high birth mortality rate, I'm like, well, what's their morbidity rate before delivery or before conception? Because their morbidity rate is totally up to them. Like if they're sick before they conceive, then whose fault is that? So we got to ask more questions. We got to dig into these things more because when these things are said, they just become narratives and they're never looked into. So if you say that, then I'm gonna ask you, well, I'm gonna ask why is that? Why are they dying at higher rates? So and most people don't ask questions, so that's why they get away with just saying these things.
And I
It's kind of
also think like the environment too, like what kind of relationship are they in? I think that plays a part. It doesn't necessarily have to be the man is beating her, which obviously that's horrible, but it could also be um just what's the energy, what is he cheating on her? Is he having, you know, intercourse with multiple women? Is he cheating on her with men? I think there's you there's different like I said, I think we could both agree. It's multiple things. It's multiple things, and what's the root, what's the question, and everything like that. So
so. With that said, do you see why I would want to be an OBGYN?
yeah, yeah.
That I
And
care
would
about.
you somehow also be a pediatrician as well? Like, would you somehow try to balance, like, flex that in a sense?
I would really just want to be a family doctor. That's what
Yeah, family
I would
doctor.
be. But I mean, the condition of women is a reflection of the health of the society as a whole. Women are the canary in the coal mines. If the women are infertile, then that means the whole society is unhealthy. So, that's just what.
Are you in school now, or did you
Nah, nah,
do?
I'm not. I got some things in the workings. So I'm just crossing my fingers, hoping it goes through because it's like I kind of got discouraged. So I was just like, man, I can't deal with this now. I need to just work. I need to, because I've sacrificed a lot of income over the years chasing this goal. So I'm just like, man, like, nah, I gotta work. I gotta make money. Like I need to, I'm a hustler. I like making money. You know what I'm saying? It makes me feel free. So, but just the more I go on, the more I live. I'm like, okay, life is about purpose. What's my purpose? My purpose is to serve others and serve others how? With my gifts and my knowledge. Knowledge is a weapon. So,
And
that's
that's where I'm at too, trying to, like, what is, like, Lydia, what is your purpose? What are you doing? So that's what I'm saying. Like, when I was in the medical field, I was very passionate about
yeah,
it. Um, and I always would find myself doing things like every time I drew blood, like I will always have conversations with them and give them like remedies and stuff like that. And that would just make me happy. But then also being in hospitality, like while I was in the medical field, I was also in hospitality too.
yeah,
So I like doing hospitality. So I particularly like working in hotels. So,
yeah. I
um,
like staying in hotels.
huh?
I like staying. I like staying in hotels. I don't like going to Airbnbs.
Oh, you prefer
Yeah,
hotels?
yeah. I don't know why. I don't want to stay in somebody else's house.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. But like, I'm even thinking like to go back to school for hospitality, and I'm confused. I don't. It sucks. I hate that I'm like such a brain fog out here. It really sucks. You know.
Well, you gotta
It's just,
find your lane.
hmm?
Um, you have to find your lane because you know there's just you'll be surprised how many people actually need what you have, and once we see that, then we can be like, okay, purpose. That's my purpose. My purpose is to help these people. So you really have to get in a space where you can think clearly, and you gotta find your peace, so you can really flourish. Because life is too short to just not be walking in your purpose. And when we don't walk in our purpose, we don't have peace. We're always conflicted. We always have the feeling like I should be doing something else. So
That's literally where I'm at right now. And I just a couple of hours ago just posted up a story that saying, as social as I am and as open minded as I am, I never thought in a million years that I'd become quiet and introvert.
uh,
So
I mean, I understand. I understand where you are. I'm definitely not an introvert, but people would think that because I kind of proceed with caution nowadays. That
don't we all have to though?
well, I'm an acquired taste. So, sometimes I just say something crazy and, I let the chips fall where they may. But, I mean well. So, I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with my personality.
Yeah, so did I. I've burned lot of bridges out here.
Uh,
And this
hey,
is both in the workplace, socially speaking. Um, I just burnt a lot of bridges by simply being me.
well,
So,
the world is bigger than Connecticut. So, there's a whole world out there waiting for you. But anyhow, all right. So let's get to the menu today. I asked all that because I was trying to segue into this because I was going to say like, what is the ideal leader of a country?
okay.
Just
So,
so like just on just basic. You got to have a love for the country and the people that you're serving. And I kind of believe that Putin has a love for his country.
yeah, he does.
So what did you get from that interview?
Well, first thing is that he was speaking on what he wanted to speak on, and if there's certain things he didn't want to display, he wasn't going to display it. That was quite obvious. Um, he has like he has a slick mouth a little bit. The way his
Yeah,
sarcasm is really nice. Um, he loves Russia, and as far as he's concerned with Ukraine aspect of it, he feels that Ukraine should have stayed together with Russia. That's like one thing. And then with Ukraine getting their own identity, getting a separate language, he's not with that. And um, I think he's. I assume he plays chess because he's playing chess in real life. Like the way he moves, he's not stupid. Um, he's very particular. He doesn't just trust anybody. Um, I think he's a good man. I think it goes. You know that saying, it's one thing to be nice, but it's better to be good. I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Like when
it's,
somebody like I don't want to be nice, or I'm not nice. I'm a good person. I think that explains him in a nutshell. Hmm?
I'm kind. I'm not nice.
No, I'm a good person. I'm not nice.
I never heard that, but I mean,
Something I'm saying it wrong, but it's a real. Instead of being nice to everybody, because when you're being nice, there are times where being nice is a good thing, but there are times where you're being a people pleaser and it doesn't work out very well, right?
yeah,
But when you're a good person that you could be kind, or you could be good to others, but you're mostly being good to yourself. And I think that's the qualities that Putin has. Similar to Trump, like I can
yeah,
help out other countries, but my country comes first. I can help my neighbors, but my household comes first. That kind of a mentality. And all men should be that way.
yeah. That's what I kind of got from the interview because like he was going into like some specifics of the history, so he has a strong sense of heritage. That that's a good thing. I think that's a
That
good
that
thing.
that plays a big part
Yeah,
because
because
he got to the root in the history of everything. Because even remember that part when Tucker was like, "Why are you telling me about this history or whatever?" He had to tell him that because it explains why he feels the way he feels and why he moves the way he moves.
yeah, but I just found it odd that I found it so odd that a lot of a lot of people were mad at Donald Trump for wanting to put America first, as it's some kind of thing that's wrong. And these were black people too. Like it was like talking
It
about
was a
America
mix.
first.
It wasn't just black. It was also white. It was just Americans.
You
Period.
know, white white liberals are not real people. They're not serious because everything that they prescribe pills that they would never take themselves.
Exactly. Just like the
I'm
Indians.
just like, you people are not serious, but like
No.
they were black people were for real. You know, they were actually they were like they didn't even understand like if America falls, nigga, you fall too. Like you're gonna
Well,
fall,
they going back to Africa though.
man. Shit, don't get me started on that. Like, don't
They
get
going to Nigeria. They going to
yeah.
Scammerland.
You think they think the hood is rough here? Like they ain't seen. I don't know. They people have this crazy concept of like the world outside of America. Like it is not what people think. Like most of the world is poor. You know, America, we have so much freedom here, and we just give it away. You know,
Mhm.
but you know, with Trump, you know, the fact that he wanted to make America a producer, you know that when you notice that when Trump was in office, the dollar had more strength because we were producing. The production caught up, you know, with the inflation, and we can still do that. You know, so his policies that made us producers, you know, made us exporters of oil. You know that that strengthened the economy, thus, and it strengthened the dollar, and it made more money flow into the economy. And you know when
Yeah,
Biden,
through trade and commerce and everything.
yeah, and you know when Biden came and he killed all that in the name of environmental justice, that kind of screwed a lot of
Literally
people.
reversed. Like as soon as he sat down, I want transgenders to go. Like I want men to go into females' bathrooms and the pipeline.
Yeah,
It's
and you know that more so dipped the morale of the country. But
yeah.
you know the fact that the economy was so strong, and you know we were producing so much. If they never orchestrated COVID, I mean, it would be buck wild up in America. You know, with the economic prosperity we'd be experiencing, because you know when they printed all that money and they shut down production. I mean that probably set us back like 50 years. You know, they say that 80% of the money in circulation was printed in 2020 and 2021 with those COVID spending bills. And you know, I say that COVID was an economic hit job.
Absolutely.
You know, and then and you know, because I don't, like I said, COVID is not. I don't. In fact, I know it's not a real thing. Like it's. I mean, we could talk about that later, but you know, HIV ain't a real thing neither. You know, AIDS is real, but HIV is not. But
Really?
yeah, AIDS is real, and AIDS doesn't come from sex. It comes from malnourishment. You know, you know they were talking about like AIDS is high in Africa.
That's I was just about to say like Africa.
Yeah, because the people ain't eating. They're,
Yeah.
that's the only.
I just see that you got this title Cold War
Yeah,
World.
yeah. It's a cold world, but you know we're in a cold war though.
We are.
Yeah. Hold on, right quick. I might have to switch some because my battery's tripping. My audio might switch.
You're okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So, with Putin, he has a sense of tradition, and what he was saying about NATO, how NATO kind of how they were just screwing around, and they didn't want to let Russia in to NATO, but see, NATO is backing Ukraine, and Ukraine and Russia share a border, so there's a conflict of interest there because whatever Ukraine is doing, it's against the Russian interests. So instead of just letting that slide, he's like, you know what, if if they're not gonna comply with the conditions, then let's just go ahead and annex them. So that whole conflict, it's kind of like having a neighbor. It's kind of like having a neighbor that you lease the house to, and they're kind of like messing up. So you're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna take the house back, and I'm sure that there are people on the other side that actually are not, they're not siding with the Ukraine interests. There's some people that probably want Russia to come and annex them. I don't know, but I just think as men, men need to understand household first.
Yes.
Every country, every country is a is a macrocosm of a household. That's what economy means. Economy means the order of the house. The law of the house. So when we have like a whole economy, that is the order of our nation state. You know, so when you're the head of a household, you have to understand all the dealings within your household, and you gotta understand the people in your household. They have to eat because they are a reflection of your leadership. And if you neglect them, then you are a poor leader. And that's what we have now. We have in this country, we have poor, I don't want to say leaders, but we have poor representatives because the interests, our interests that they're supposed to be representing and advocating for, they're doing is they're representing the interest of corporations and really evil people that are trying to subvert our society. With all that ESG scores and all that, the DIE or the DEI or whatever. Um they're really just killing the morale of the people. So you got to ask yourself, like, why is the government backing these policies that creates these conditions within these corporations? And that's why people would say, like, oh, capitalism is not good. Well, the same capitalism that they're complaining about is actually the thing that they advocate for. They want the government and the corporate world to not be one, but they're using the arm of the government.
To capitalize.
They're using the arm of the government to control corporations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's a product of people's ignorance of how things work in this nation. So,
And isn't that the epitome of the Cold War? What really like started it?
yeah,
Capitalism versus communism,
well,
like capitalism here in America versus the Soviet Union with communism.
yeah, about well, let me look up the definition of a Cold War, because I think a Cold War is pretty much just an information war.
It pretty much started after World War II. Pretty, it kind of like branched into that in the late 40s under President Truman, and it was about like you keep the capitalism here in America. It was basically the East versus the West.
Yeah, it was a battle for hegemony, because you don't want communism to be the
The forefront of
yeah,
everything.
you don't want it to
It's
be the
kind of prevention of one world order. So it's funny that you have Cold War as the title. Uh, do you think, because supposedly the Cold War supposedly ended in 1991, supposedly with the Soviet Union. But do you feel like it never ended? Like it started in the late 1940s and then it ended in 1991. Like it did away, like just like I said, with the Soviet Union. Do you think it like left and came back, or do you think it just never
I think
ended?
it never ended. I think that it ended. It gave the semblance of ending because America was infiltrated by a bunch of communists. That's and then once they toppled the Soviet Union, then it was kind of like, okay, well we our now our power is unchecked, because it was always, the threat was always like
Mm-hmm.
nuclear war. And one thing I understand about rich people never fight each other. They pay poor people to fight for them. So I don't think that I don't think that USA and the USSR was ever gonna like nuke each other. Like that would have been nuts. Like they would have wiped out the
It would have
world
wiped
if
out the
yeah,
world, exactly.
that had happened. And
Even right now,
yeah, and
you
I'm
know,
our armor,
it'll be over.
yeah, like our armory, like we can turn whole areas into a crater. So to have that kind of destruction, like I
It's
don't know
over.
what they do is, they'll fund these proxy wars. They'll send, they'll pick on these little struggling nations, and they'll stir up tension in those regions, and they'll fight over territory, because when you remove a regime, that creates a power vacuum. You know, it's kind of what they did with Gaddafi. They killed Gaddafi. Now they have what they have. They have all these. They got all these pirates, these slavery. That whole region was destabilized, and you got all these warlords running it. And if that region is destabilized, then somebody can just come in and siphon off the resources. That's really what this is all about. All war is about economy, resources out
Yeah.
are
Mm-hmm.
are exchange. You
Yep.
know, that's that's what this is all about. In my, that's how I see it. I'm sure it's a lot more intricate than that, but at the end of the day, it's all a fight for like territory and resources. So
Yes. That's what it's all about. It
yeah,
really
but
is.
you I just, we have to take our government back because we are literally communist.
You feel like America is already communist?
Yeah. Do
Because
you
I
know?
remember I messaged you a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying that we're a third world country, and you kind of disagreed with me a little bit.
No, we're not third world yet. We're like second world. We're like second and a half world. Like, hold on, let me see. Taxes, federal taxes. I'm gonna look up something right quick. State.
But you feel like for certain we're communist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Um,
During COVID or even before COVID, do you think we
well,
were
definitely
communist?
socialists.
Definitely socialist.
Socialists.
And is this before the pandemic or just during?
Yeah, look at all these social programs we have. I mean, it's when you're able to take money from people and reallocate it elsewhere, what else is that called?
It's equity. Somebody has to
That's
pay.
all socialism.
Yeah, so it's socialism.
Yeah, and they don't even have a say in where it goes.
No.
All right, so check this out.
And it seems like it doesn't work. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, say what you're saying.
Check what? Okay, fine. It seems like, because we're the melting pot in America,
Hmm.
like you would think, okay, yes, we're capitalist, right?
Hmm.
But then with the socialism, you would think it was like a juggle, like capitalism, socialism, capitalism, socialism. but it just seems like we're just railing off into communism. But I think that having different cultures, it also doesn't help in a sense. Not saying that I'm trying to not promote the fact that we have different people from different countries, but when you have the Nordic system in Scandinavia, it works because they're the same people. But it's not going to work anymore because they've submitted to the Western agenda. So, like, you have Sweden, you have Denmark, you have Norway, Finland. They're they were literally scaled capitalism, socialism at the same time. Their taxes were mega high, but it was working because Finland people are Finland people and Sweden or whatever. It's all Iceland. They're all the same people. You get what I'm saying? They're all Scandinavian. And
You
then, but
had
now they're allowing the Indians and the Somalians to come in there, and it's about to tip into communism
there
because it's different cultures. So what I'm saying is, in America, like Scandinavia, they have smaller population than us. So that's another, the way things get distributed economically and everything, it just worked. But then they submitted to the globalist agenda, and that's going to tip them into communism. But before they were a very balanced scale. Here in America, as you see, it's all these different groups of people and different crooks, different types of things going on. So everything is out of whack, if that makes sense.
the crooks.
Yeah,
Well,
different.
the problem with America is we don't have any identifiable unifying values anymore.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Scandinavia does.
Yeah,
We
the
don't.
unifying that we had, they say that they're racist and they're oppressive and all that shit. So there's always gonna be
It's never ending.
yeah. So there can be no unity. We can't agree on that. We can't agree that this issue is important. So everybody let's contribute to it. And
Let's say the Hispanics. Like, let's say you take a group of Hispanics, right? And I'm not going to take all of them because I know the Caribbean, like the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans and Cubans, they're different from the Hondurans and Mexicans and Costa Ricans, right? Like the Central Americans, and then they're different from the Peruvians and Ecuadorians and Venezuelans and whatever. So, but typically, when you take these groups of Spanish people and they're kind of operating in a socialist way amongst each other, what do they have? They have community, they have the same language, similar cultural, food and things like that. So if it's 10 Mexicans working at this construction site or whatever the case may be, they're not thinking like, oh, this guy has this guy, he has a BMW, this one has I don't know, all these different type of lavish cars. They pull together. I know the Chinese do that for sure, but whatever, these ethnic groups, what I'm saying is they pull together, they put money together, um, and that's what I'm saying. That's what they were doing in Scandinavia. So you can have capitalism and socialism because you're eating together. So it's like, I don't know, somehow the communism or the socialism, it didn't work in Cuba. It didn't work in Venezuela, even though Cubans and Venezuelans are Venezuelans. But like in Scandinavia, it worked. So I don't know,
well,
like there's this, when they trick you with socialism, people have to. I think we have to inspect socialism a little bit more. We could probably make a topic on that, but I think we need to get into what socialism is.
well,
Why do people offer it? What types of, because I think it really, to have socialism, it only takes two type of people to agree to socialism, and that's givers and receivers. Where are those balloons?
what's all that? Got the feds watching us.
It's not my birthday today, but
Your birthday?
no, it's not.
Okay, so it's
What was that?
it's an economic theory of social organization that advocates the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned and regulated by a community as a whole.
You're reading
Yeah,
socialism?
that's the definition of
I'm
social.
sorry, read that again.
A political and economic theory of social organization that advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange, i.e., economy, should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole.
Yeah, so that's how they trick people typically because oh, everybody eats, everybody gets a piece of the pie. You know,
That's not that's
that saying everybody eats.
yeah, that's not natural.
That's yeah, that's the biggest gimmick, I'll say, within socialism.
That's not natural because on a micro level, every family is a socialist. Every family has a socialist system running
Structure,
because
exactly.
you have you have you have you have a worker and then you have subordinates under you that you have to distribute resources to for a time being you know so that's the problem when you have socialism. People, you might have lazy people that opt not to work,
Exactly.
and
Which
you
is
and
here in
that's
America.
going to be a drain on on the people that actually work, on the
Exactly.
producers. And that's evil. That's
That's
stealing.
stealing.
If you,
And that's here in
yeah,
America. That's what I'm
if you don't work,
saying. But in Scandinavia, put it like they were all family. That's you kind of making it easier for me to explain. In Scandinavia, like in Sweden, Denmark, these countries, they're a family, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So
they have,
they had a structure, they
yeah,
had their culture, and it's exclusive to them, and they have less population over there than we do here, if you understand what I'm
yeah.
saying. So it's like, but here you take your Nigerian scammers, you take your curry Indians, you take it's just what
you, you,
what
you,
but you
you all right with me? That's all I got to say. You cool? You cool?
but you mix that together, is it a good mix? Like I wish as Americans, I mean, you would think as big as the food and beverage, like the restaurant industry is, that's what kind of brings us together, right? Like, oh, Jamaican food, Mexican food, Chinese food, and so on and so forth. You would think because these are all cultural. Wait,
Chinese,
what do you mean? What do you mean? No.
Chinese food ain't gonna bring me nowhere but the hospital.
Oh, I don't eat Chinese food.
Okay,
I
yeah,
eat Thai food, but I don't eat
yeah.
Chinese food.
I don't eat any kind of Asian food.
You don't?
Never, nah. I mean, I don't. The first time there's this restaurant in Houston named Timmy Chan's, and when I came to Houston to go to college when I was like 19, 18, 19, my homeboy was like, man, you need to come to Timmy Chan's, man. Timmy Chan's is the way to go. So I ate Timmy Chan's. I had the blues for a week. Like I was just, it was the worst feeling. I felt like the life just being sucked out of me. I mean, it was bad. Like it tore my stomach. I couldn't breathe.
I know
And
that happened to me too with Chinese food when I was in the eighth grade and I couldn't go to school for a few days.
yeah,
Like I was at a Chinese buffet with
yeah,
my family, and the next thing I had the flu. It was you
yeah,
talk about COVID like that. That must have like that Chinese restaurant
yeah.
gave me COVID.
That's what they. That's what they say. That was the China virus. Yeah,
And this was like back in 2002 2003. So
yeah.
that was like I don't eat Chinese food.
Nah, me
I
neither.
don't eat Chinese food.
I don't.
So no, but what I was saying though, like you would think through the restaurant industry, you
Mhm.
would think like, okay, Jamaican food, Mexican food, whatever country, you would think that brings us together in a more peaceful, better type of a way. But no,
Well, see, food is cultural and it's intimate. For instance,
exactly.
like let's say you let's say you brought me to your house, right? Your mom's house. You're like, hey, this is my friend, the real ISO. He's a good person. Since like I would think that she'd be like, okay, well, she'll probably cook me Ethiopian food, and she probably prepare the best dish because it's a sign of acceptance. When you cook your food for people, you're and then you eat together. That's an intimate thing.
And
So yeah,
what I'm saying. I would have thought these, like here in America, like people from all these different, like Europe, Africa, Asia, Latin America, I would have thought like food and going on to what you're saying, like it would make us more, oh, we're a melting pot and we have different cultures. But you know what? People get so caught up in America with race and colorism that they don't understand that culture is really at the core of everything.
Well, at the end of the day, as a country, we have to have identifying principles or unifying principles that make us Americans.
So what is our identity
We don't
as Americans?
we don't have one anymore. That's what I'm saying.
What
Like
was it
we
before?
it was hard work, pride, integrity, pride in country, God, the exaltation of godly principles. Um, what else? Honesty, and then we just
Was
became,
liberty and justice for all?
yeah, all that, respect of people's,
Liberty.
in, individuality, but still, still, still having the presence of mind to, to have somebody else's welfare in mind, not just, letting your neighbors suffer. I don't know if you know, I don't know if you know Ron Paul. Ron Paul is Rand
Mhm.
Paul's father, but he was saying that before insurance, he's a doctor. He's a
He's
medical doctor.
he's an obstetrician.
I think so. He's from Texas.
He's yeah, he used to be the state rep for like 35 years in Texas.
Yeah,
He actually delivered Selena.
yeah, I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but
And he's a OBG, not he's a obstetrician. He delivers
yeah,
babies. So,
but he saying that before insurance, the medical system was more efficient because it was doctors had to get results, and they were like, well, what if people don't have money? He said, well, he said there was more charity back then. He said there was way more charity back then. He said, but now, it's all just government. It's all about government control. And, I think, when we take power and responsibility away from the people, then we lose our values. Then it becomes a rat race. Instead of, I'm doing well, so let me look out for my fellow man. So that those are our unifying principles, and we don't have that in our culture. I mean, it's still here, but everybody's struggling so much. It's hard to help people.
yeah, it's hard to
Just like,
maintain.
you're like, if I help you, then that might be my last meal, and you might not pay me back. So
Yeah, everybody, we're all on edge.
yes, so though, but within a family, if you're within a family, you're just like, well, that's my family. It is what it is. At the end of the day, there's no amount of money that's going to stop us from being family.
So the way that he remembers things, was it more of like help thy neighbor kind of a thing, like before the insurance and everything? Like was it like, oh man, like this is my neighbor, he's across the street, he needs help? And was it was it more that way at one point? Is that what he means?
Yeah, yeah.
So is that socialism to you?
No, that's just being a that's just being a good Samaritan. That's not socialism.
It's an individualized
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah. You don't have to do it, but it's more pure when you don't have to do it and you do it. That's a more pure thing. That's a pure act. And guess what? That doesn't, as a whole, that boosts the morale of everybody in the community. To know that there are good people out here. So when we've adopted all these bureaucracies and all this centralized power, it diverted the responsibility of each individual citizen to look out for their fellow man, their fellow American, because we kind of puts a bad taste in everybody's mouth. They're like, well, they're taking tax dollars out of my check anyway, so they need to be doing something. So
I, I'm even like that. Like I don't know if the right word is selfish, but because I used to be somebody to look out for people, and I wanted to be, helpful and stuff. But I don't have it in me anymore. I have it in me, but just not where I'm at. That's why
Yeah,
I'm like dying to be in a place of community. Like I just want to be around good people, parents, children, things like that. And
yeah. You gotta make a decision. You gotta make a decision. There's so many opportunities out here. Don't limit yourself. But
I'm not. I'm just trying to plant myself correctly.
sometimes you just gotta go.
What? Just jump off the roof
Yeah,
with
sometimes you just gotta go.
no job, no plan?
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, I mean, all you need is a
I
job.
mean, stationed down there. I mean, like
All,
to where I want to go.
all you need is a job. All you gotta do is just just submitting your resumes. People do it all the time. And and then, as far as like, what you want to do, don't give up on that because all these evil people are in positions of high power. Don't give up because their threat is you. So if you get to their level, then they gotta look you eye to eye. You know, so many doctors were so scared to give people vaccine exemptions. If I was a doctor, I would give them exemptions. I'd be like, nah, I'd be like, nah, it's contrary to the current state of health. So, no,
And
and
you
if
don't even have to. And that's so un-American that it takes a doc like for this with the COVID situation. Like, how he want like I was telling you, the doctor wanted to do the antibody thing. Like, oh, they have the antibody, so they don't need like that's still a part of HIPAA compliance though too. Like in terms of if somebody like if you don't want to get the vaccine, why do you have to as far as the exemption is concerned? Why does that have to be broken down into detail, or why does that even have to be on paper? Even if it's not broken into detail, why can't you just, as an American, be like, I'm not getting the vaccine because I'm not getting it? That's the part that makes it communist.
yeah,
You know,
and that
it's horrible. It's disgusting.
yeah,
I
that pissed.
that put a lot of like that put I'm sorry that put like because you mean tell me I'm medically trained to be very confidential when anytime I see a patient or anything, whether I'm putting you on the scale or whether I'm taking urine sample from you or whatever the case may be, I can't tell a soul that I saw you. And I respect that too. I that's how I am. But you mean to tell me now when it comes to the vaccine in particular, like if you want to see the Yankees play the Mets or Red Sox play the Yankees or whatever, and you got to show your card, like it, it just I don't understand. Like that was the part that really threw me off, like the hypocrisy of medical privacy. That really fucked with me. You know,
Yeah, did
that put like a huge bad taste in my mouth. Like,
once
and when I was trying to visit my father, you know what they was doing at the hospital? They had somebody sitting at the desk at the slide doors. As soon as you walk in, oh, let me see your vaccine card. Like what? I have a video of it too. And I'm like, what? Like what the hell? What is this? It's just I don't know. I don't know.
did you hear about that Boston study where they studied a whole bunch of people with the what's that called, the Spanish flu, when they studied those people? Did you hear about that?
At that time, like what, back in the 1920s?
Yeah.
What did they do? No.
All right, so what they did was they got like snot and like spit from people that had the Spanish flu, and they swabbed it, and then they put it on like other people, like they put it in their nose and in their
Contaminated and
yeah,
everything.
they did that. It was an experiment, and nobody got sick. Absolutely nobody got sick.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Like it's all bullshit. Like contagion is not true. Contagion is a myth. It's something that we believe that's never been proven. And just to drive that point home, I've worked in a pharmacy in a closed space, and I see sick people coming up, coughing all on the register. I'd be working with sick people. They come to work sick, all, eyes all red, coughing and sneezing, and I would never get sick. The only time I got sick was when I was working. I was taking like 16 hours, 16 credit hours in school, and I was taking like some really hard classes. So I was like super stressed. That's the only time I got sick. So what
And
is
that's
that?
what I think with COVID.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it was psychological. People getting sick, like how people dealt with burnout from working long hours, and people suddenly became homeschool teachers, not in the traditional homeschool way of teaching, but just out of nowhere, like your kids are going to school, now you're teaching them virtually while you have to maintain an 8 to 5, which obviously that happened to me. That can make you sick. The over Like the stress, like going into what you're saying, like the stress on your body, and then you're telling yourself like, oh, I have COVID. That's what dumbass people were doing. I guess they wanted to, I don't know, have COVID like everybody else, if that makes sense, or at least in my neck of the woods. Um, but stuff like that will make you sick.
yeah,
Just the lack of self care, the paranoia, the mental, what you're telling yourself, that'll make you sick.
yeah, yeah. Every sickness is just oxidative stress. That's all. So you work in the lab. Did you ever do a PCR test?
Which one? PCR. I just forgot. Is that the throat?
It's where they just swab you, and then
Yeah.
they'll they'll look for proteins. They'll look for protein fragments of the quote unquote virus.
I've done throat swabs, but this was like a couple of years ago.
So
I just know that, huh?
you work with diagnostics.
Yeah, but I didn't process the stuff.
Oh,
I drew blood, did a few swabs, take some urine tests, processed the insurance and stuff like that.
yeah. Okay.
But no,
Um.
I wasn't like. Have you worked at a lab before?
I mean, that's just kind of. I haven't officially worked in a lab, but like I've been in labs like for the last 15 years, just for what I do. But
You love science, don't you?
yeah, I'm a science person. Science person.
Do
Um,
you trust it?
well, real science, yeah, real science is observable, but like the the fake science, I don't trust experts. Things have to make sense to me.
You don't trust the CNN science.
That's not science. That's sorcery. I don't trust that. Anytime you can tell me you can get COVID for going to the grocery store, but you can go and protest in March and you won't get COVID. Like that's the biggest crock of shit ever. And anybody that believes that is an idiot. Like, I'm sorry to be so harsh about it, but I mean, just think about it. You can't go and hug your family members, but you can go protest for George Floyd and you won't get COVID. That's the dumb. And people actually fell for it.
Listen,
That's the part.
you
That is
think
the
you're being harsh? It's hard for me to. I understand people wake up and people see things at different times, so I'm very like empathetic in that area. But the way people put on your mask, follow the arrows, and just the way people was contributing to this, I can't be cool with those people again. Like we're not gonna be cool until we're both 6 feet down. Like I can't, or people not hiring you, or people not being friends with you, people cutting you off, getting a divorce with you because you like Donald Trump, or because just you have a different belief system. Like how am I supposed to be cool with these people again?
well.
I can't. I can't. Nah, it's beef. It's beef forever.
You
It's beef
just
until we're both dead cows.
you just gotta understand how fear can really affect people, and some people are just not individual. Some people are too scared to be individual. So and I kind of have compassion on those people. Those people are really scared. So, if a child comes to me scared, I'm not gonna have a harsh attitude towards them.
No, that's different. Like even like
Ah,
the elderly, because remember the news was telling black people and the elderly alike that if you get COVID, it's gonna get you first. Remember that.
but
So when the elderly we were in the grocery stores, they're like, follow the arrow. I wasn't gonna snap at the elderly. They're being told that they're most susceptible to die first, right? So I wasn't. I'm talking about people that just like let's say in my particular case, like people that knew me personally, like they were cool with me, they know I'm not going to do, like I'm harmless, they know I'm not going to do nothing to them, they know I support them or whatever. But just because I'm telling you my views of what I like and what I feel, you'll take my money, you'll take my support, but you'll treat me like shit. That like I just can't be cool with people like that anymore. I don't know, maybe I'm
I, I understand, but I kind of just, my mom was kind of like that, and I love my mom dearly. My mom's one of my best friends, but she was calling me, talking about, you need to get your vaccine right now, and I'm like, man, I like, don't you ever? I almost got a gangster on my mom. I like, man, don't call my phone. I'm a grown ass man. Don't call my phone talking about I better get nothing.
and
I'm,
people like, wear your mask, wear your mask. Like, if your mask is so protective, if it's like a bulletproof vest, you don't need to worry about me wearing
but
my mask.
see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, that's how.
I can't mess with these people. I
But,
can't.
but I'm saying, like, at least have compassion on them, because the fear, they were just scared. Fear is never logical, because if I do everything to protect me, then I should be good. Why should I be worried about what you're doing?
Exactly. And that's what I was saying.
But
And these people kept barking at
but
me.
they were scared.
Tell them to go to hell.
I mean, that's what I was saying. I said, hey man, look, it's either.
And that's another thing. Like I didn't like being in the medical field wearing those masks all day. That was another. Trust me, it was a couple of things that the arguing and it was a couple of things, that scared me, not scared me, pushed me away from the medical field. I always say that I didn't leave the medical field left me.
I mean,
If I come back to it, it has to be on natural terms. Like not just me naturally wanting to do it, but it can't be affiliated with pharma.
uh, I
I
mean,
don't I don't I don't hmm?
I get what you're saying, but there's, there you got to understand how these chemicals work. You got to understand pharmacology. A lot of doctors do not. So, and a lot of doctors have sucky diagnostic skills. They don't know how to diagnose a problem properly. For instance, there's an abortion pill. It's called RU486. It's used to cure cancer. It will stop cancer in its tracks, and it's a pharmaceutical. What it is, it's a cortisol blocker, and it's also
Oh, the one that a woman takes it and then it stops the pregnancy and she just bleeds out.
yes, it'll cause a spontaneous abortion. It's not spontaneous because it was
It's
actually induced, but
planned.
yeah, it will induce an abortion, but it also
They
cures cancer.
they make it like it's like a planned miscarriage. Is that the right
Yeah,
word?
yeah, yeah. So but like I said, it cures cancer. It will stop
Wow, I
cancer.
didn't know that.
Yeah, because of the physiology of cancer, it's all about enzymes, and enzymes make metabolic processes go. So when you block a certain enzyme, when you block a certain hormone, then that will halt the process. So that's why I love science, because there's merit in it, but it's just that there's too many doctors that are not scientists. A lot of these doctors just kind of, they're not thinkers. In order to work with any system, you have to understand it, and you have to be good with troubleshooting. Somebody comes to me, they're like, I got a headache. Then I start doing an investigation. I try to see I ask them, what did you eat? How long you been feeling like this? And then I'll take a blood.
They do not do
They don't
that.
do that, but some doctors do. But though that's not the doctor that is known. So in order,
That last doctor that I was drawing blood, they was on him like vultures. That's what I couldn't take it. I couldn't.
but he didn't have to fold though. Those doctors in California, Dr. Dan Erickson, the one that called bullshit on COVID from the get go. They were on him, but he didn't fold.
What
The
did he end up? I don't. Maybe I have to go look up the story. Well, I would love to look up the story. What did he end up doing for the most part?
he just kept practicing. He was the first one. He was the white guy in the ER. I think he was like an ER clinic, and he was saying, yeah, we've had a lot of patients, but this is no different than just a bad flu season. And everybody was like, how dare he say that? And he was like, man, look, this is what it is. And then he was a part of the frontline doctors. Dr. Stella, I
Yep.
lived down the street from her. Her clinic was booming. So she stood her ground. She stood on business. And, they tried to say that she's crazy. They
Oh
try to
yeah.
attack,
She got a lawsuit for that.
but she's still in
No,
business.
no. She sued. I did a video on it a few years ago. She sued. I forgot I can't think of his name for defamation.
Yeah.
She.
She won?
Yeah.
Well, look, good for her. Like
Yeah, because
being a
I remember she was in the beginning of COVID. Like she was the one that was giving out
yeah,
hydrochloroquine, and she saved about a good 400, 600 people.
yeah,
And this is the thing about the Black community that upset me because she was the one that put it out there about hydrochloroquine, and then Trump just kind of delivered the message. But then they were like, "Oh, he said drink Clorox or whatever," because they don't understand what that is. And they didn't like you want to claim that you're so pro-black and you're for the black community. They didn't listen to her, but they listened to Dr. Fauci.
yeah,
It just didn't make any sense.
yeah. That's why I said like
Like,
that's why I was like the whole black thing. I was like, man, forget it. Like y'all not serious. Y'all not serious. Y'all listen to
and then to add insult to injury, like remember how like the Tuskegee experiment, like it's been talked about over the past couple of years, but for some reason in 2021 it just resurfaced. So you would have thought, like with the black community, like if like maybe you've heard of Tuskegee experiment, but now you hear about it in full detail. So you would have thought like they would have been like, oh no, I'm not getting the vaccine. No, that's not what happened. I
what
know some white European Americans that had like relatives in the Holocaust. They was like, no, I'm not getting the vaccine. But the black community, in regards to Tuskegee experiment, no, that didn't stop them from getting it.
let me read something right quick.
Okay.
That very few people realize that the worst pandemic ever to hit America, the Spanish influenza of 1918, was the after effect of the massive nationwide vaccine campaign. The doctors told the people that diseases were caused by germs. Viruses were not known at the time, or they would have been blamed. Germs, bacteria, viruses, along with bacilli and a few other invisible organisms, are the scapegoats which doctors like to blame for things they do not understand. If the doctor makes the wrong diagnosis and treatment and kills a patient, he can always blame it on the germs and say the patient didn't get early diagnosis and come to him in time. Isn't that what we're seeing now with all these heart conditions?
Yeah, but
That's all
myocarditis,
I'm saying.
myocarditis,
You need people to be fighting on the front lines. Um,
it's evil. You see, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to contribute to that by any means.
you don't have to. You can be the person that there's still doctors that actually are treating people
Where in Texas?
everywhere. Just don't know. They keep a low profile.
You said a low profile.
A low profile. because if they actually found out that they're treating people, then it's
Yeah.
gonna be a big deal. They're gonna be like, what are you doing? What are you using? They're gonna, the public has to really educate themselves. Like where we are, we weren't always here. We had to get people with influence to drive us here. With their money and all that. So that's the reason why we're here. So constantly, like in like manner, we're gonna need people to drive us in the opposite direction. And the only way we're gonna have that is if people do it. So there's no escape.
What do you think of Dr. Sabi?
I mean, what he said. He was saying all diseases is caused by mucus. I was like, that's a bunch of BS. Mucus is there because you have disease. That's like saying that. That's like saying that the bullet, the gunshot wound was the cause of the bullet.
So where does mucus come from?
Mucus is a part of your body. Mucus is your body's
Defense mechanism?
it's it's your body's way of trapping particles and moving them out of your body. So if there's mucus there, that means there's something there that needs to be moved out. That's all it means. Or if there's mucus there, that means there's tissue damage. But mucus is not the cause of the disease. Disease is the reason why there's mucus. So when he said that, I'm like, man, this guy's full of crap. But I think he just said it wrong. I think he was just saying it wrong. It's really just inflammation. When you have inflammation, you have mucus. You know, but I don't know. But right quick before we wrap up,
Oh
so we're talking about
my God, did we even talk about Putin?
yeah, we did talk about Putin. We talked about Putin. We talked about Putin. Um, we're talking about communism. So the state, the federal government gets taxes from the states, right? And the federal government, they will allocate certain funds to the states. And what does that sound like?
Say it
The
again.
state government gets taxes from each state. Each state,
The state government.
yeah, we pay taxes. We pay federal taxes. Each state. And what the federal government will do is they'll take that entire, all those taxes, the revenue from taxes, and they allocate them to each state. Not each.
Communism?
That's socialism.
Socialism?
That, that's what I was saying. Like, and the states that pay the most, the state that pays the most is California. So that's why you hear liberals saying that California is funding all these red states, these poor red states. When they'll say that argument that when people talk about California
Mm-hmm.
it's a liberal communist state. They'll be like, well, if it wasn't for California, all these other states, they wouldn't have any money. So that they'll say like that's communism. And they're right. They're kind of right. But the state that gets the most money, the highest percentage of its budget from the federal government is a blue state, and that's New Mexico. And then the other four are red states. You got West Virginia, Mississippi, Alaska, and Kentucky. All those states get a large chunk of their budget from the federal government. California is actually 48. In fact, the the four the four states that are last that get the least amount of money from the federal government, they're actually blue states. Texas is Texas is where is Texas? Texas is 35. New York is 36. So, I think that needs to be addressed as well. With
So
this whole
what would be a good fix for that, or a good strategy
what
for that,
would
or
be
idea?
what would be a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta let the states. I mean, I think only the governors can fix that. I don't really know what each individual state has going, but like Texas, if we withdrew from the union, we can be our own economy and we'd be like a top 10 economy in the world. That's why they say like California is the sixth biggest economy in the world. But they mismanage their funds because they actually pay the homeless. And people don't know that they actually pay people. They get like
Yeah.
$1,000 a month. You know what I'm saying? So like they're keeping people homeless, but they're doing is they're just keeping power at the top because when there's a lot of homeless people, it kind of like lowers the property value of
Mm-hmm.
places.
Yep.
But the demand for real estate is so high, so are so high. But what they'll do is like it'll keep the middle class out of like these super rich neighborhoods. So it's really California is a mess. Like I went to LA for a week in November, and it was nasty.
November that just passed.
Yeah, yeah, it was nasty. It's
I loved LA. I went to LA last year. I loved it.
which part of LA were you at?
Downtown, uh, Crenshaw, Inglewood. Crenshaw and Slauson. Um, I was all over Malibu, Palisades, Melrose, Santa Monica, Hollywood, Beverly Hills. I
Yeah,
was just driving around, took a tour, all types of stuff. I loved it. I saw some homelessness, but I don't know. I must have been in the right places at the right time. Like,
yeah. I was in Koreatown. It was nasty. I mean,
and you just stayed there. You didn't like go around to like different areas.
I went to Hollywood, and I mean, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, Hollywood. I was just like, I'm ready to go back to Texas. Like, truth be told,
So you didn't like it out there at all?
nah, I didn't. I didn't really enjoy it.
It's funny because I loved LA more than Houston.
I mean, I ain't look here. I ain't saying I love Houston, but
That's where you're at, right?
yeah, yeah.
What brought
But I'll take
you there from Dallas?
what brought me here. School. I'd rather be I'd rather be in Houston than LA though. But Houston is not Houston's culture is bad. Like Houstonians need to clean up this culture here. Like Houstonians don't care. They don't care about nothing.
I saw some ratchetness there in Houston. I mean, Houston, I loved Houston. Houston was nice. I just know that I wouldn't live there. I have a feeling that I'm gonna love whenever I go to Austin and Dallas. And to my understanding, Dallas, Houston, and Austin, they're all total like three different entities. But I have a feeling that I'm gonna love Austin and Dallas, Fort Worth, and everything.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy Fort Worth. Austin's full of liberals, so
I tend to love liberal cities.
well,
I just told you I love LA and I love Miami.
then move to Austin. It's super
I
liberal.
haven't even been there yet. I mean, I want to see what Sixth Street is all about.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to love like we had something called the Texas Relays. It's like this big track meet, So like when I was in college, we used to go. One of my friends, his dad was a state senator, so we stayed in his penthouse. I had a blast. But I mean, Sixth Street. I don't know how it is now. I ain't been in a long time, but I do like Austin. Like Austin is just the ambiance. People are just chill and you know but when you start engaging in conversation, you'll see how like how messed not messed up, but how like weird people.
Yeah, I heard the slogan is "Keep Austin Weird." That's
Yeah,
the slogan.
yeah, yeah. I don't like that. They need to you know you see people walking around without shoes and shit. I'm like, man, you need to put some shoes on with your nasty ass.
That's how you connect to the earth.
Not, I mean, if you walking on grass but not concrete. So anyway, all right. So let's end on something fun. Uh-oh. All right. So um,
What can men learn from Putin, I guess? Or the conversation that I don't know.
yeah, we already said what men can learn from Putin. Take care of your household. What do you
Okay.
What do you think is the main thing men need to learn when approaching women?
No means no.
Okay, so let's role play. Okay, so I'm walking. We're at the grocery store. I see you. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. You look nice today. What's your name?
Thank you,
What's your name?
Lydia.
That's
I
that's a pretty name. So where you from?
Connecticut.
Okay, okay. So what you doing? What you doing later? You want to get lunch? Are you married?
Uh, this happens in real life.
That,
I
that
I
don't
go through.
that doesn't happen in real
No,
life.
it
It
does.
does.
There are times where guys ask me for my number. I'm like, I can't give you my number because I have a boyfriend. Yeah, I have a boyfriend. That's why. Like who
You
does
got a
that?
boyfriend? Okay. Well, that's cool. Like, where'd y'all meet?
No. Oh my gosh. I can't.
Damn, like,
Uh,
hey,
High school? I don't know.
you said what in high school? You don't messed up the role play.
I did because I can't. I'm telling you, this is what I do in real because I don't have any answers. I
So, but
can't even lie and say I have a boyfriend.
so why don't you just say you don't have a boyfriend?
I don't know. No,
So why don't you just say, well,
but I've gotten better over the years with just saying no, I don't view you that way. I just keep it simple.
I'm talking about for a stranger?
No. Gosh. Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
So if a stranger came up to you, because this is the script. A stranger comes up to you in the store, right? And then this is what they ask you, and that's how you react.
No, I probably feel like I have to go right now and I just leave.
So why would you say that?
I don't know because I just mixed. I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. You need a.
I guess I'm talking about when a guy asks me for my phone number. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
didn't ask you for your phone
I know
number.
you
Yeah,
didn't.
so you were anticipating it. Well, see, you don't ruin it. Like you could have met your soulmate and you don't ran them away. Like women, I think women need to learn how to ask questions. Stop letting the guy just dictate the conversation. You know, like you even ask me my name. So
You said what?
I said you didn't even ask me my name. So I think women need to learn how to steer the conversation.
I don't know, but if this happened in real life, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of women don't. It's okay. Anyway, well, I hope everybody watching enjoyed our show for this week. You got any closing remarks?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see y'all next week.
Ciao.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone. Thank you for watching.
All right. Ciao.